my countrymen. This is Eli Velislao Pamatong, President of the Republic of the Philippines. And tonight I have come to share with you my thoughts on the four countries that have abused the Filipino people. And they have brought upon us the miseries that we are suffering today. Hitler once said that life is an everlasting struggle where one creature feeds on the other and where death of the weak implies life for the strong. Death of the weak implies life for the strong. And that is true, not only with the creatures, animals, it is true among nations. Spain, the first colonizer of the Filipino people, abused us so much that the church which Spain brought to the Philippines, the Catholic Church, abused us to a point where roughly 200 trillion pesos were stolen by the church. The same church that plundered Spain and much of Europe from the 12th to the 18th century. And that same church abused the Filipinos to a point of killing thousands of Filipinos without being recorded, because at the time there was no media to talk about. Every country that has come to the Philippines, from Spain, followed by America, followed by China, and now, from Spain, America, Japan, and China, they have all abused us. Even America has abused us. You think that it was only the Catholic Church that plundered the Filipino people in terms of roughly 200 trillion pesos, enough to have the highway from Ilocos Norte to Davao gold-plated with 24-karat gold. America has also abused us. Perhaps America took more money from the Filipino people than Spain or Japan or China, which is currently exploiting the Filipino people. And so I have to raise my voice, because otherwise no one among the Filipino people have been fighting for the rights of the Filipinos against foreign invaders. Today I wrote about 4 letters to the authorities in America. And I have to write that letter because, according to Lincoln, democracy is like a huge machine. Only the noisy part gets the oil. And so I have to make some kind of noise. Not really a very loud noise, but enough to be heard. So I wrote a letter to Trump, Donald J. Trump, and Joe Biden, the presidential candidate. I wrote to both of them because I am not really taking sides, except the side of what is right. And hopefully one of them, either Trump or Joe Biden, will listen to my letter concerning the return of the gold bars from Pamatong mines, the Yamasiti gold that America brought to Fort Knox, and the release of roughly 1 trillion dollars belonging to General Mungado from Sumitomo Bank and Chase Manhattan Bank. That is the subjects of my letter. These are the subjects of my letter to Trump and Joe Biden. Demand for the return of the gold bars that America took to Fort Knox for safekeeping. Those gold came from the Balatok mines and the Benguet mines, and they were shipped to America every 10 days until they were all gone from the area of the mountain province. And they're still there at Fort Knox today. They belong to the Philippines. I would assume that they took that to the United States at Fort Knox for safekeeping. I would refuse to believe that the Americans are plunderers or thieves. I think originally they brought that to America for safekeeping, but somehow they seem to have forgotten what they brought to America. So to repeat what I said, I think in my previous recording, these are the mines, the gold bars that America brought to the United States mainland and deposited at Fort Knox, and they are still there today. They belong to the Philippines, and they are worth trillions, maybe 100 trillion, 200 trillion, I don't know, but they are enough to make every Filipino happy. And these are also the gold bars, probably taken out of the Yamashita gold bars that General Yamashita of Japan brought to the Philippines. They are also at Fort Knox. I believe that they belong to us, at least most of it, because we won the war against Japan. America did not win the war. The first time they fought the Japanese, they lost. They were humiliated by the Japanese. And General MacArthur had to escape to Australia. It was only when the Filipino people, the whole country, millions of Filipinos fought Japan with the guidance of the American generals, that we won. The second time that we fought America, but this time the whole country, Filipinos, fought Japan, where I think 2 million died and only 15,000 Americans died, with about 40,000 wounded. So if you really look at it, we won the war. We did most of the fighting and most of the dying. So those gold bars from General Yamashita, which he brought to the Philippines from Malaya, belong to the Filipino people, and they were brought to the United States by General MacArthur, I think, for safekeeping. Again, I refuse to believe that they stole the money. To repeat, these are the gold bars brought by MacArthur to Fort Knox in the United States, and they belong to the Filipino people. Yes, these things happened yesterday. In 1941, perhaps 45. But what was unjust in 1945 is still unjust today. The passage of time does not make wrong right. The passage of time does not make plunder righteous in the eyes of God. Injustice does not grow old. Crime does not grow old. What was unfair and unjust yesterday is still unjust today. That's why I want the United States of America to return the gold bars from Balatok mines and from Benguet mines. And here you can see the Americans packaging the gold bars and sending them to America every 10 days to San Francisco. So we have huge amount of gold bars at Fort Knox, enough to give every Filipino the best car in the world, every Filipino a house of his own. But we are poor because a big nation took advantage of our weakness. The United States of America forgot. And worst, aside from the fact that they took our gold bars, they also massacred the Filipinos, according to Mark Twain. They killed probably about 4 million sometime in the year 1898 or 1899 to 1916. About 2 million were killed. 4 million were killed by the Americans because they say that the Filipinos were criminals before they came to the Philippines. We only ceased to be criminals after we met them, after the Americans came to the Philippines. They were saying that perhaps jokingly, but that is not a very good joke. So I wrote a letter to Trump and Joe Biden asking either or both of them to step into the picture being leaders of the United States of America and send back to the Philippines the gold bars that belong to us. And send those gold bars to my custody because I am the legal president, not Duterte, who is only an impostor and a Chinese puppet. I want those gold bars under my custody because I want to spend those gold bars to raise 20 million army and to ward off or repulse Chinese presence in the Philippines and buy whatever is necessary to make this country great again. If ever it was great sometime in the past, make it great again, or for the first time, make it the greatest country in this part of the world. So I was asking them to return the gold bars to the Philippines in the same manner that they returned the Balangiga Bill. The Balangiga Bill, which I requested from the United States many years ago, but the Americans, of course, didn't listen to me until Mayor Duterte followed it up and the Americans released it to make Mayor Duterte happy. So again, I want the gold bars returned to the Philippines in the same manner that the United States returned the Balangiga Bill. On the other hand, I also mentioned in my letter to President Trump and presidential candidate Joe Biden to release the roughly $1 trillion deposit of General Mungado with the Chase Manhattan Bank, Sumitomo Bank, and other banks. Release those deposits and give them to me because again I would like to spend that to rebuild this country from the ruins of yesterday and take this country into a world where people can be happy, properly educated, properly taken care of as far as their health is concerned. I said that in my letter to Trump and Joe Biden. Hopefully they will listen to me. But if not, at least I've tried. And I know that you believe I should do that. Otherwise, if we keep quiet, nothing will happen. Silence will not bring us anything. When you raise your voice, people are bound to react to that voice either negatively or positively. Hopefully, the United States of America will realize that, number one, as I said in my earlier recording, the Filipinos won the Second World War. The first war between Japan and America, the Americans lost here in the Philippines. The second war between Japan and America here in the Philippines, we won. America, I think it won the war, or she won the war, but it was the Filipinos who won the war because the whole country, the whole Philippines, fought the Imperial Army of Japan and routed Japan, and then of course Japan eventually surrendered at Tokyo without the presence of a Filipino leader to sign the surrender document. So to repeat, the gold mines or the gold bars brought by Yamasita to the Philippines were ours. If at all, the Americans are entitled to a share, but most of those gold bars are ours. And the Balatok gold mines, the Benguet gold mines, gold bars, or the Balatok gold bars and the Benguet gold bars belong to the Filipino people. because they were taken from the Philippines without our permission, understandably or presumably for safekeeping. They wanted to protect us because at the time the Philippines was a Commonwealth of the United States of America. We were known as the United States of America, Philippine Islands for 48 years. And that's why we also claim to be American citizens, because we were born in the United States of America, Philippine Islands, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America. To repeat, I wrote a letter to Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And hopefully, with the help of God, the highest authority, we will win. Those gold bars will be brought back to us, and then we can rebuild this country from the ruins and debris of foreign abuses and cruelty and slavery. I think I have said enough. Thank you and good night.